Imagine waking up to groceries that cost twice as much, mortgage payments that swallow your paycheck, and your savings quietly evaporating. America's $39 trillion debt bomb isn't coming, it's already ticking. And the fuse? It's lit by countries quietly walking away from the dollar. Hey friend, let's have a real conversation. No hype. No doom and gloom for clicks. Just the uncomfortable truth most people in power hope you never connect the dots on. America is drowning in debt. $39 trillion. Let that number sink in for a second. If you spend $1 million every single day since the birth of Jesus Christ, over 2,000 years ago, you still wouldn't have reached even 1 trillion. We're at 39 of them. That's roughly $114,000 owed for every single man, woman, and child in this country. They told you it's all fine because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. They told you to trust the process. They lied. What's really holding this thing together is a hidden global system you never voted for, never debated, and probably never even heard of until recently. It's a system that forced the entire world to use the American dollar just to keep the lights on and cars moving. And right now, that system is cracking, loudly. Today I'm pulling back the curtain on how we got here, why it's starting to unravel, and what it means for your wallet, your home, your retirement, and your kids' future. Stick with me. This might be one of the most important conversations you have this year. Chapter 1: The $39 trillion Illusion. Walk into any currency exchange on Earth, and you'll see it. The US dollar shows up in nearly 90% of all foreign exchange transactions. 9 out of 10 times currencies swap hands, the dollar is one of them. With 180 national currencies on the planet, that makes the dollar the operating system the whole world runs on. How did one country's paper currency become so dominant? The answer hides in the one thing every modern economy absolutely needs: energy. Specifically, oil. The global oil market is worth roughly $2.5 trillion every single year. That's bigger than the entire market value of all the gold, iron ore, copper, aluminum, nickel, zinc, lead, tin, cobalt, and lithium on Earth, combined. Oil is the single largest traded commodity in human history. For 50 years, the vast majority of that oil had to be bought with US dollars. A Japanese company buying Saudi crude? First convert yen to dollars. French refinery importing from Kuwait? Buy dollars first. Indian power plant buying Iraqi oil? Same story. Every single transaction creates constant, insatiable demand for dollars. That demand is the invisible sponge that soaks up American inflation. It's why the Federal Reserve could print trillions without immediately turning your grocery bill into a second mortgage. Think about it. The central banks in Tokyo, Frankfurt, New Delhi, and Seoul have been vacuuming up trillions of our dollars every year just so their own countries can buy fuel, keep factories running, and heat homes. They hold those dollars, invest them in our treasury bonds, and quietly finance our deficits. Meanwhile, most Americans have no idea they've been getting this massive subsidy from the rest of the planet. Here's the twist most people miss. America is now the world's largest oil producer. We export more than we import. We don't need to buy oil in dollars anymore. But our entire financial dominance depends on everyone else still needing to. And that part? We're losing. To understand how fragile this is, we have to go back. 1. Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. 44 countries gather. America has the factories, the gold, and the military muscle. The deal: everyone pegs their currency to the dollar, and the dollar is pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. A dollar wasn't just paper, it was a claim on real gold. It worked beautifully for about 20 years. Then came Vietnam, the Great Society programs, the space race, and a defense budget that would make a casino whale blush. Deficits exploded. Dollars were printed faster than gold could back them. The French, never shy, started doing the math. They began shipping boatloads of dollars back to America and demanding gold in return. Over 3 years, France alone repatriated over 3,000 tons of gold. Other countries followed. America's gold reserves, once 80% of the world's, started disappearing. By 1971, Nixon had no choice. He went on television and closed the gold window. No more converting dollars to gold. The Nixon shock. The world woke up to a dollar backed by trust. After the spending spree of the 1960s, that trust was in short supply. Inflation spiked. Currencies floated wildly. Then came the 1973 Arab oil embargo. Gas lines. Empty stations. Prices quadrupled. The economy got kicked while it was down. Enter Henry Kissinger. Love him or hate him, the man was effective. He flew to Saudi Arabia. Behind closed doors, they struck a deal that would shape the next half-century. Saudi Arabia would sell its oil exclusively in US dollars. In return, America would guarantee Saudi security, the most powerful bodyguard on earth. Within a year, nearly every major oil producer followed. No global treaty. No public vote. Just a structural agreement that became the architecture of world trade. Parts of this arrangement stayed classified for over 40 years. It wasn't publicly confirmed until 2016. That should tell you how quietly powerful it was. For 50 years it worked almost flawlessly. Until now. What Kissinger built was genius. He took America's greatest vulnerability, a currency no longer backed by anything real, and turned it into the greatest strategic weapon in history. Oil priced in dollars meant countries didn't just spend their dollars, they held them. They invested them in U.S. treasuries. Every barrel of oil bought by a foreign nation became indirect financing for American highways, wars, military expansion, and winning the Cold War. It was like installing a toll booth on the global economy. Everyone had to pay to turn on their lights. Then China decided to build a road around the toll booth. China now imports nearly 2 million barrels of oil per day from Saudi Arabia alone. That's enough to fill 127 Olympic-sized swimming pools with crude, every single day. And for years they paid in dollars. But quietly, they were building the escape hatch. Enter Enbridge, the multiple CBDC bridge project out of the Bank for International Settlements in Basel. It lets central banks settle transactions directly with each other using their own digital currencies. No SWIFT. No Western intermediaries. No U.S. oversight. SWIFT currently handles about $5 trillion a day. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the West kicked Russian banks out and froze $300 billion in reserves. Every other country watched and asked one question. What if that's us next? China didn't protest. It built an exit ramp. By late 2025, Enbridge had already processed thousands of transactions worth tens of billions. It's still small compared to SWIFT, but it's growing, and it's designed to keep growing. America's financial nuclear option just became a lot less nuclear. In June 2024, headlines screamed that the petrodollar deal had expired. Saudi Arabia was now open to payments in euros, rupees, yuan, you name it. The truth is more nuanced. There was never a single, binding treaty, with an expiration date. It was a self-reinforcing habit. But that habit is breaking, one yuan-denominated oil deal at a time. Economist Zoltan Pozsar called this Bretton Woods III, a shift from paper claims on governments to real stuff, commodities, gold, tangible collateral. The dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves has fallen from about 85% in the 1970s to roughly 58% today. Still dominant, yes, but the lowest in decades. Here's what that means in your daily life. The U.S. government now pays over $1 trillion a year just in interest on the debt. More than defense and education combined. That number stays manageable only because foreigners keep buying our treasuries, keeping yields, and therefore mortgage rates, from exploding. When foreign demand for dollars drops because they need fewer of them for oil, they buy fewer treasuries. Bond prices fall. Yields rise. Mortgage rates follow, even if the Fed is cutting rates. Your $400,000 home loan suddenly costs hundreds more per month. Groceries climb. Car payments strain budgets. The cost of living quietly shifts upward, and most people blame, inflation, without seeing the deeper mechanics. This is the slow bleed. History is clear: every reserve currency eventually loses its throne. The Roman denarius, the Dutch guilder, the British pound. Each one looked invincible, until the underlying economic logic stopped working. Britain didn't collapse overnight. It endured decades of relative decline, inflation, bailouts, and a slow erosion of living standards. The pound simply became less relevant. Ordinary citizens paid the price in ways that never made the front page. We're not Britain in 1945. The dollar is far more embedded. But the pattern is identical. BRICS nations now represent 36% of global GDP and 44% of global oil production. They're building parallel systems: CIPS, China's SWIFT alternative, yuan-rupee oil trades direct. Bilateral deals bypassing the dollar. Saudi Arabia is hedging, joining nothing formally while quietly testing everything. None of these systems replaced the dollar overnight. But the dollar didn't take over overnight either. It won because oil ran on dollars. That advantage is eroding. When the demand for dollars weakens meaningfully, the adjustment won't be gentle. Higher interest rates. Pressure on asset prices. A recalibration of what expensive really means. Your savings, your home equity, your retirement accounts, all priced in dollars, will feel it. Not in some distant future. In the coming years. This isn't about panic. It's about clarity. Protect yourself. Understand real assets. Diversify beyond pure paper claims. Stay informed when the mainstream narrative says, everything is fine. Because the system that made the last 50 years possible is changing. The question isn't if it changes, it's how quickly, and whether you see it coming. The $39 trillion illusion has lasted longer than many thought possible. But illusions eventually meet reality. And reality, my friend, is knocking. Closing music swells. On-screen text. What do you think happens next? Drop your thoughts below. Share this if it woke you up. Stay aware.